And we have this, you know, pretty barren, but look how it's mirrored, right? Actually, okay, I had to go charge the battery for a few minutes. Well, I had to clear up camera space is what I needed to do. So you might be needing to clear up some space in something to make room for, okay? Because that had to happen. Also needed to take a couple of days for my other project. So there's probably a balancing act going on for you as well. But what they wanted me to do in the time that it took to clear up camera space, start converting the camera I record this on, I have to convert the files in order to upload them. That's just how it works for me. It doesn't work to use my phone for me. No problem with the picture, but it's just, this setup is better for me. For now. But anyway, in the time that it took, long story short, they got me to double check, to do what I was going to do. I was going to check just a few placements, astrological placements, according to, and I think it's going to lead to even a deeper affirmation through this card. I took a peek ahead at it, because I went and got the chart work first. So, like, this is, I don't think I pulled this out on you yet, okay? This is one of my pink spider charts, okay? This is for my first house placements, and these are my planet placements, yes? I have the Nakshatras included, and it has, I have the tropical settings pale here in with the months, and then I have sidereal. But it's an uneven. See how big Taurus is compared to Gemini, okay? See how big Virgo is. It's accurate to the sun transits, okay? And then I have two house systems. I use whole house and I use Ibn Ezra Regiomontanist, because I find that the whole house system tells you what your state of being is in each house, whereas events as they play out, necessary chain of events, seem to play out according to an uneven house system. I do think it's that complex. Not to mention, I actually edit how I enter the images of each card, because where parts of each picture fall are further clues. They line up, and then of course I've got the swords, I've got all the suits lined up astrologically, and I put earth and air, I changed their cardinal and mutable and fixed positions so that you, Taurus, are cardinal earth and Gemini is cardinal air. Libra and Virgo are fixed earth, fixed air and earth, and it's according to the houses, right? And mutable energy, because mutable energy is when your actions are dependent on the actions of others. So I put that as 10th house and 11th house. So Capricorn and Aquarius. Now, for the Two of Swords position, I have two charts because I did all my homework here on the Nakshatras, okay, on this one. But this is my older chart that still has an even zodiac. So I need both charts just to cross-reference still. Two of Swords, right here in Gemini, the way I put it, for third house, okay? So the Two of Swords that we're talking about, astrologically, they line up with the first two padas of Ardra Nakshatra, okay? Just happens to be where my Jupiter is. Now I've got shorthand notes. There are unique personality types and situations to each pada, each section of a nakshatra. I go to Vidhyamitra, but I also take the information that I find from multiple sites, but primarily Vidhyamitra, and I come up with my own shorthand, okay? So even my ideas are unique again, like Vidhyamitra might not agree with my conclusions, right? But for me, the first two pada of Ardra are prophets and advocates, okay? So there's something about you being a prophet or an advocate, or a combination of both, all right? And that's fitting in completely with what the Father Sky card is saying, what the backstory is, the weight of the responsibility that seems to be falling on you in this. Okay, so if that's very specific about that. The Two of Wands, if we're looking at unique childhood interests, okay, the Two of Wands position over here in Aries, Okay. Page of Wands. So here's the Two of Wands, and I've got a little line for the Ace of Wands. But the Two of Wands line up with the first two pada of Ashwini. Okay, that's twin energy. That's like the Ashwini twins are the original twins, actually. So you have battery. You have not battery. Well, yeah, battery and magnet energy, the positive and the negative. Okay. But over here, Ashwini starts off by being goal-oriented. Like we all come in the last pada of Pisces in Revati and the first pada of Ashwini in Aries, goal-oriented psychic artists, okay? But if we're talking about the Two of Wands, and we're talking about being goal-oriented and being something of a dancer, gymnast. So if that speaks to you at all, then there's an affirmation for you in that. The Four of Wands, while I'm here, just double checking. Four of Wands are going to line up with the second, third, maybe the first three padas of Bharani. So that's definitely into the Kali energy. And we're totally talking shamanic stuff there. We're talking ruled by Leo, so needing a lot of, there's a lot of ancestral stuff there. Answering to ancestors, needing the affirmation. Absolutely needing affirmation on what you're doing. Magician energy. Sex, interestingly, is sex and business. So very, yeah, adult industry kind of stuff, but could be as creative as you want it to be, whatever. But if we match that with the gymnast, dancer energy, right? So there's some definite physical talent there, shall we say. And what was the other we have? Hang on a second here. There was one more. Because the Eight of Swords was coming through again. The Eight of Swords taking us up into Aquarius, and we might as well do the Ten of Swords reversed there as well, because that's taking us, and the King of Swords. Those are both for me lined up with the King of Swords. Okay. And that puts us in, so they're the 8 swords, the 9 swords. It's just how I divvy it up, but it's how they led me to do it. Okay. So they're gonna, it's their shorthand for communicating with me. So we have 3 padas of Dhanishta, like 2.5, and the first couple of padas of Shatabisha. Okay, but that's into the 9 of Swords, into the 10 of Swords. So we've got Shatabisha and Purva Bhadrapadha for the 10 swords, up until pretty much the 4th pada. So I know for sure. Well, I've got them all down. We're going to start with Dhanishta. We got some serious celebrity energy going on there. We've got being an excellent manifester. But we're going to focus on networking, celebrity status, and cult hero, like cult favorite status. And I mean, you know, not cult, well, you know, like a cult film favorite, cult show favorite, that kind of thing. All right, so we're dealing with that energy. When we get into, and that's there in Dhanishta, when we get into Shatabisha, I haven't filled it in yet, but that's because I have to decide which kinds of circuits. Shatabisha is all about being a conduit for energy coming through you. So if we match that to the prophet advocate energy, yes, then somebody is speaking through you. Some kind of energy is coming through you. And you're either very comfortable in public with it or you're very private with it. We go from the public spectrum to the private spectrum as we move through towards the into the 9 of Swords, okay? And then with Purva Bhadrapadha, here we're dealing with motivational speaker, business, magic, and art combined in the 2nd pada, and guru, publisher, you know, somebody who's there to lead with words in publications, right? We do end, we're not going into this one, but there is a mother worship situation there, and there could be a lost mother there as well. But that's where we get with the 10 of Swords. Okay, So if any of that is resonating, then these are affirmations for that, okay? And that lens takes us right back to this. Oasis of hope. The successes that seem impossible are all the more precious for their unlikelihood. These are reminders of divine power, the triumph of hope, of winning against the odds. Remember that life thrives, hidden, even in the desert. Do not give up hope. Believe in the inevitability of your beautiful destiny. Chicken's looking for food. This dog, or whoever is looking for, has found the chicken. But yes, if it's a lamb, then it's also looking for growth. Sucks to be anything that's alive to get eaten. But no, if the successes that seem impossible, I'm looking exactly at that King of Swords energy with the celebrity status or the cult hero status or the networking status. Yes. And again, we come back to Douglas Adams in the 42. So there's the sophistication here. Okay. All right. Lots of white on white. Chinese artist. His information is in the description. Alana Fairchild deck. Tibetan scenes. So taking us very much close to the Naga and the prison planet knowledge. Look for my signs. I've been speaking to you through signs in the world and feelings in your heart. Can you hear my reassuring voice? When you ask me for a sign, I give it. Notice what's happening in the world around you. Take comfort and believe. That says to me that everything is on schedule. Everything is on time, even if it feels like it isn't. You're keeping adequate pressure on yourself to deliver when you need to deliver. And the stress is interfering, right? Because we don't have these problems when the stress levels are lower. So I hope this has helped, Taurus. I'll shut up now because it's gone on a ways. I'm going to switch over and get into the walkthrough of the astrology book, workbook. And I will be back soon. Much, much love, and take excellent care. This is incredible work that you're doing. Bye for now. So, my thing is I created, well, I didn't even know I was going to be making this a couple of years ago. This is the third book in a series. Second to be published, but third to be created in a series that I call A Year From Here. The original was meant to get everybody off the wheel. And then as soon as I finished that book and published it, my guides said, no, we're going to actually work with the wheel now. And here, you're going into astrology. So they brought me into astrology last thing, which brought me full circle with my childhood. Made me happier than anything. But really what it's all about is a very intense, basically it's a science experiment. But it's exciting because it's not... It pulls in your guides. It's 13 months. We do an overlap, okay? And then you just experience each of the houses. We go from 8th house to 4th house to 12th house, and create the balance and the pace. Yes. Then we get into air, and I have modified the order of air and earth energies, cardinal, fixed, and mutable, to match the houses. So. And it's totally been proven. I've got it all. This isn't printed ahead of time. This is all the work that I've done, okay, over the past 10 months, filling it all in. We go through air, and how they organized it. They told me how to structure this because they work it in time. The way they orchestrate it with the energies, the overlap, like, because we start with 8th house in April, so there's the overlap of Aries, yes,
And by the time we hit Virgo, and what we do, like we get, you find out, you get your balance in the 8th house and the 4th house and the 12th house, okay? Your balance, your speed, your pace, your sense of emotional range, okay? Then we get into your roots, what you know, who's communicating with you, who you're connected to. You would think that would happen in the water signs, but it actually happens in the air signs. The path to God, you keep a photo diary. Okay. Now, I did a really good job of being dedicated to the photo diary in the first few months. By the time we hit air, it was overwhelming and I could barely keep up with it. So I have to go back and finish photo diaries for that. But I'll walk you through the pages. We work with the numerology of it. As you can see here, I've got everything listed, and then we check to see if it's been fulfilling, and absolutely. And because I use 2 house systems, and because I use tropical and sidereal, and then of course the Nakshatra, we've layered it all. When I published this the first time, I was doing it without the Nakshatra. About halfway through, or sooner than that, then there was no ignoring the Nakshatras anymore. There was no thing, we can do this without. But we also go into other astrologies. So you basically, as much as you want to have a full understanding in bite sizes of world astrologies, we go totally comprehensive with that. But because I'm matching sidereal, overlapping sidereal with tropical, now this doesn't stay true all the time because the sun lasts in Virgo for like a month and a half, right? So this needs some revising. But the mid days of any month, this has proven true. There's a concentration of energy for each house as you move through it, and it affects the activities that you're doing in that month. So there is a way to structure in this experience of doing this workbook what can be accomplished in the 13 months. I can guarantee what's going to be processing for you in what month, at what time, and how heavy the workload's going to be. Okay, so that absolutely, and then and what we do is, if it's whatever your goals are, and usually it's probably going to be fairly holistic. Okay, there's heavily magic, yes, but if there are financial goals, if there are spiritual goals, if there are relationship goals, probably all together, then you're going to meet guides you didn't know you had. You're going to get stronger with the ones that you know you do have. You're going to collect so much evidence. You're going to do review. You're going to figure out exactly, you're going to get so much affirmation, and you're going to get so much clarity by the end of it and then you're not only clarity, but everything shifts in your life to answer to this book. It hinges on the work, absolutely. You can work with your own charts if you want, but I can build a chart for you as well. I do a couple of versions. This is the old version that I have to walk away from. But I can do a simple version with basic placements of each house, yes. I can do a complex version where this includes all the aspects, yes. These little ones are your planet placements, yes, okay. And then I mark your planets in the Nakshatras, and we study according to that as well, right? But here's where I have actually worked, and I've edited the photos. Again, I've edited them because you're going to find that there are images, and if we work with a deck, you can even choose the deck and tell me what deck means the most to you personally, because this one is a very personal deck to me, the Morgan Greer's. So there are motifs in these cards that speak to me personally about certain people and certain events, right? And you get clear on your purpose, and the cards will actually, like the positions actually line up to give you even more insight into yourself. This takes time to do. This is so, you know how much information there is in your astrology. So to give it 13 months to work through it, they've given me guides, Kali in particular, have given me such an awesome way to process it all It's not easy. It does take time. You're going to need, on average, you need about 20 minutes a day to fill in the journal, right? And a couple of hours a week for the tasks per week, okay? So these are, and this is to show, so we can set this up. I'd need to do this sometime in March, by March, because it starts in April, okay? Those are a few houses that I've done there. All right, where can I put this? Hang on a second here. Then we work in preparation in March. You work on, well, I mean, you can cram it in as you go as well. It's probably a good idea to have this on hand in March, but the cycles, the planet cycles, and what they mean, and matching them up with years in your life. So Pluto every 20 years, okay? And you keep track of events, and then we line them up with tarot placements, all the aspects, right? Okay? So that alone tells you enough about yourself, even to start, okay? But I also take you into resources. There are links to things that I have researched that I find to be very helpful. You'll have your own resources, but just in case you don't, then I've added links, okay? And I keep coming back to these pages as I go. It takes about 1 package of paper. I work with the legal size paper because that's my favorite. That's my favorite work size to use. I get the cheap ink from Amazon. I got a bunch of it. I used to use Canon, but if you get it printed off, I would print as you go. I wouldn't worry about, I don't print everything off all at once. I print the pages as I need them. I didn't print all the pages that are in the book. If I don't need them, I don't print them. And so then that's the first part, okay? Then then here's how we head in. Now we don't actually do this summary of all the water houses until the end, okay? But I just put it here so that we've got clarity on where we're going with this, okay? But we do, by the end, coordinate things to do comparisons and to get the bigger picture as much as we can. There's only so much you can allow to, you don't push to try to understand everything. You do an approximate, right? And you try to have as much fun as possible. And just whatever they want you to know, they will put you through a full Scorpio experience when we're studying Scorpius and Scorpio. They'll put you through a full Cancer. Like, there will be things that happen in your life during that month that match what you need to know about that month, okay? So this is an example of that photo diary. That was the easiest photo diary. We do a predictive reading. There are links to resources that I found that are specific to each house that you can go into. Sometimes I write out the notes. Sometimes I go back and I print photo references. You'll see, okay? We chart. We keep track of if the planet placements in the calendar from the chart that I've used, how accurate they are. And then we make note of major events. But we check to see where the sun actually is, and that's how I ended up creating the correct zodiac, or as correct as it can be, right? Was by monitoring. And then things that see how the energies affect, okay? So we work with examining, observing, right? And then making notes to see how predictive we can get ourselves, right? So that's for every month. Now, what's really genius for me about this experience is in this column. Now there's things you need to do today, things that are unexpected, new and unexpected in that day, and then the mood, okay? And then of course financials. The mood I find is the most helpful because it's in the context of this whole thing. Charting my moods and being my own therapist in this. I find that extremely healing, and pulling it all together. What happens is I usually leave this section blank until the end of the month for all the weeks. Then I go back, I review everything, and I look to see what was actually happening. Do the review period, right? To see what was actually happening, and that's where you actually start to pull things together that shock you. You write what you can about what that day was like. Yes? And you get specific and you name names. You have to trust. You have to trust that you are protected in this process, okay? And I can't say enough how much that's worked for me. I've worked with other journals before, so I put a lot of effort into figuring out what is meaningful since we have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat for 13 months what we're putting into these pages. Yeah, you want to write things that you're going to go back and read. You don't want to write and then go, I can't go back and figure that out. That, no, I go back and I actually want to reread everything that's in here. So then we get into the season of the house and how it affects the big picture for everybody, right? And what we're going through in that season, what houses you're in, and what planets are in that season for you and all that, right? What it's like, what the energies are like. Okay, we do this for each house. Okay. Do that the first week, right? And again, keeping track. Then we work into the constellation. Now, this isn't the most exciting constellation work of everything. I'll show you more exciting as we get into it. This was me getting warmed up here. But research what other people have to... Even this is where it gets really interesting for the constellation and for the sign, to dig into world cultures, to dig into the truth, right? We're not looking just to buy into what we've been told. We're looking to get scientific about things. More and more I find what different objects are going on in here, and the science of the sky starts to really help to shape, and especially historically or with other cultures, because it's either true or it's not true that these energies affect us, right? And it's amazing. Again, can't get over. I can't get over. Then, of course, we do getting into... Now, this would be modified for the new chart. I've added Nakshatras questions into and placements into these questions, okay? But we do a full... You do a full analysis to get an idea of what that house is all about for you, and those planets and those placements, right? And the aspects. Okay? Then an overview of what you think that is going on for you in that house and where you're going with it, okay? Right? And so that is how we carry on. And I'll just flip through. See, it's like sometimes I edit more and more images in. I go in and reprint, or I wait to print that page until I edit it in. It's a PDF. So again, one package of paper and one box of ink. The color, the magenta from the cheap ink has been proven to be, the yellows tend to be a little pink, but by and large, not an issue. So the work, you can put more or less into it. I have Jupiter in Gemini, so I put more, but then that gives me a lot to help you with in terms of sparing you maybe some legwork. I do it myself. Again, and I've come across, I've built up, and I share a huge, basically, well, not huge, but a really solid set of resources, other channels, other websites that are proving themselves again and again. Okay, so that's, then we get in, yeah, so the air. Now, photojournals are, kind of missing here. Is there anything else I can point out, though? We get through all of that. What is really amazing is when we get to, now I'm going right past, I see Virgo there. I see Virgo, okay? And I just gotta get past Aquarius here. All right. What I want to do is, group sessions on Patreon or YouTube, but probably starting on Patreon. When we hit Virgo, we're going to hit Virgo first, and we hit Virgo, the way they organized it is that we hit Virgo during Virgo season. And then there's this huge overlap of heavy work energy So, and Virgo is all Time Lord stuff. It's all time sensitive stuff, both in Virgo and in Hasta, the Nakshatra in particular that hits there. So they catch you up in real time once we hit Virgo season. And then Virgo season ends up lasting till the end of October, straight till November 1st. And what we've learned about Libra at that time, which is the path to heaven, and there's a lot of truth. Like I don't shy away from digging through all the Great White Brotherhood stuff and getting into the truth of what we got from Africa and what we got from Asia, India, okay? So once we hit the real time, then there's basically this steady climb, right through the earth energy, this deep magic, and we do the root work. Whenever you hit your second house is when you're going to do a lot of root work. So there's stuff that I can predict in terms of flow for you, how easy or difficult. We're going to hit the Taurus void. We're going to hit the Capricornus void, this dark territory. I love dark. Dark you need as much as you need light. And I don't mean that dark equals bad and light equals good. I'm totally against that. Those are not, though dark and light are on a spectrum, but good and bad is not for me. There's wrong and there's right. And I don't mean to be simplistic about it, but no. So using cards to interpret the chart, mapping them out. This is all information from Vidhyamitra that I got into. So lots of root work. For me, it hit at this point, but that's because my second house is in Sagittarius. So whenever we hit Sagittarius energy is when we're going to hit the root work energy, okay? And so we're going to dig deep, 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 deep into everything. We're going to pull out all the stuff that needs to be pulled out. And it's all on schedule. It all happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. So there's a way that you can look ahead at what's been charted in the book and know that if you were wanting a thing to happen sooner, it's not going to happen sooner. It's going to happen when it was charted to happen in the book, right? In that overlap page. So anyway, see how I start to get a little more visual, right? So that's what you can do as well, okay? But you don't have to, if it's not your thing, then you keep notes however you want to keep notes, okay? And they bring in all kinds of amazing, the way other people in your life influence you, what they bring in, okay? So we get through all of that. Yes, we're going to get to a period of total exhaustion by the time you're done 10th house, because it is what it is. It's all about getting exhausted and then getting the fresh start. But I guarantee. So then what we do in the 13th month, in the 13th month is that overlap month, okay? And I thought it would be good, and it's the fire element. Oh, we're not there yet, okay. Now the fire element story is still waiting for me to finish it, okay? I've done Leo, and Leo is actually where I started. I came up with the final chart. We came through on the whole creative thing in Leo, absolutely. So, but there's a lot of money when we get to 5th house, and even in Virgo as well. We're dealing with a nakshatra that has to do with money karma, and parental and ancestral baggage. Okay, so this is by the time we reach here. That's what's getting cleared up. You've got all your groundwork underneath you, and it's called, then we start to separate what's yours from what's theirs. And everything starts to just shift, and then you shift into this energy of wonderful emotional separation, like in the most positive way, yes? And then this expressiveness comes through. Everything starts to gel. You've done the prep work. Everything that you've put into the book starts to actually shape your life. That's what's going to happen. Early incarnations, yes. Mansion era energy. This is specific to Leo and Leo Nakshatras again. So, and then building that idea of how the energies, again, by having charted, knowing very much in real time how these energies have affected you as the planets move through space as around us, right? As we're moving together, as they move through the constellations. What does it mean to you personally? Now you have a database of knowing, and you can't remember everything all the time, but you know that you have the notes. All right, so then now once we hit, no, I'm not even there yet. Where did it go? Arrival. How did I lose everything? I left something behind. I left half the book behind. Okay, hang on. Okay, so there's that much book. There's that much book. Photo diary again. But putting it all in real time, okay? So all of a sudden we go from being in some other house during some other month. Now we've done it in Virgo, yes, but here we'll do it again. So we'll be in Aries, Pisces within, and then we're moving into Taurus within the April, yeah? So putting it into play, what does that mean? It means we're still keeping the journal, yes. And it'll be interesting to see where your finances are, if they need to be improved at this point versus where they were a year earlier, okay? But here's what I mean, where what we keep track of changes, yes? And so that's I find that, and then what I'll do is once we've got past that, if you want to carry on with this, I'll have another journal available that will keep going with this, yes? Because you don't need to keep doing the planet work necessarily the same way. So you can carry on for as long as you want, year after year, by tracking. You probably don't always want to do that. So there's probably going to be even a third incarnation of what to do, right? But maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised if we need a third book after this. But that's what we do. What it all means, and I can probably shrink that so you have more room to write. I find sometimes the print is a little big, so I'll be modifying that for the next version, okay? And then, if there's anything that's left as a question mark, left as any kind of dissatisfaction, or just left as, well, again, a question mark, then we talk about it, we bring it up, we get into it, and I help you solve it so that you have a sense of solidness about the whole experience. So that's what's coming up. The book will be available soon, but if you're interested at all, if you've come this far in listening to it, if you want to leave me a comment or email me at pinkspidertarot@gmail.com, then we can get you set up with your own copy and your own whatever chart you want to use that I can edit into it. I'll edit the chart into the book so that you can print it all together. You don't have to edit in yourself. So that can either be somebody else's chart. I use AstroSeek. But if you want me to create a chart for you as well, I'll need to do that. I'll need about $40 to do that. That takes up some time, but otherwise the book is free. The book itself is a free download. So you can do whatever you want with it. You can work with it on your own. You don't need to sign up. There's a full list. Again, the video series is already up on YouTube from this past year. So if you want just to go back and reference that when you're working on yours, the information won't be that different. We'll do a predictive card read for the beginning of each month. And I do meditations. I take photos of the card read that I do. We use Japanese deck, an Eastern India deck. That's what I used this year at the Tattoo Tarot. And do a simple read, few cards, and I use the major arcana from the Japanese and the India deck as the oracles. And then I photograph them and I do a meditation on them to music, and get that posted, so that there's something just to go back to. And with that, we actually put the focus on learning how to interpret the cards in a predictive way, right? Like, they actually obscure for me at the beginning of the month when I do the read. They don't want me to actually be too clear on what they're telling me. They want us to track and trace. Sorry. They want us to track what the cards are and how they're playing out in the month. So there's even that. We go back and we review the prediction that was given to us. And of course, you're going to bring in other predictions from other readers. And I build those into my photo diary. I build those into my notes. And you end up with a huge database for yourself of communications from your guides, how it's manifested in your life, what it means, like you can look at your chart. By the time you're done, you look at your chart and you know what you're looking at. And nobody else needs to look at it for you. You've spent the time yourself, you've internalized the knowledge, you're emotionally connected to it. And even if, let's say you glance at it and you're like, oh my God, it still looks like a hot mess. You know that if you sit with it, you are fully capable of digging into what the heck's going on, why is it happening, what the trajectory is, okay? But usually the big picture is so significant and you're going to be overwhelmed with how important you are in what specific ways. And I can tell you that Kali is definitely part of the experience for everybody. If you are a fan of Jesus, then I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a crossover there. But crossover. Good one, Kristen. I come from a heavily Christian background, but it's Kali who appeared to me. But I also work deeply with the Orisha. So whoever, and again, especially through Mel Brown, the Aboriginal healer in Australia, her decks. So Grandmother Spider, because I'm Pink Spider, Spider ties me to Grandmother Spider, Spider Woman, and Kali, in particular. And so I can guarantee that they're on this journey with you. The Orisha are in my life because I have missionary relatives that tortured Nigeria, but they brought stuff to me, and they brought Nigeria to me, and they brought the Orisha to me. They didn't mean to, but they did. But the Orisha meant for them to. Animal spirits, animal oracles. And what I haven't been clear on yet, because they wanted me to come up with a specific habitat, and then it gives us, because of the houses. Now, so again, Scorpius submarine, okay? Everything that comes with that. But then even getting into the Nakshatras, there are different qualities to that energy. Houseboat Cancer. And it all has proven true. Like it's tested. I've tested it out month for month with each of these. Cruise ship Pisces. Embassy compound Libra. Libra are the cleanup crew of the zodiac, absolutely, but the cultural ambassadors. Okay, penthouse Gemini. The storm. Travel hostel Aquarius. 8 star. 8 star, it's actually, the 8 star is chaos magic, but yes, the 8 star, because the star in the Aquarius card, in the star card, yes, it has 8 points, which is the chaos magic, the creative chaos magic star. But that's why 8 star travel hostel. Lighthouse Virgo. Now the joke is, in Virgo, this is why it's time sensitive, is I found out by the time I got to Virgo, I found out by watching the video that I had listed as the reference video, that lighthouse keepers were put out of work 20 years ago or more. Everything went automated. And I was like, shit, I gotta get Virgo a new house? No, Virgo's house is time, space sensitive. Absolutely. So there's round tent Taurus, the flow. Exotic outpost in Capricorn. Capricornus, the exotic outpost. Spaceship Leo. Now Leo, even with the formatting for the printing, it went out the boundaries. Space Station Aries, where you're going to find all of these different gateways, yeah? And then we end up with Space Pod Sagittarius. So that's the journey. It's basically absolutely a travel journey, and it's actually, you feel like you've moved through the universe by the time we're done. So I'm like a tour guide is what I am, a comprehensive tour guide. So I hope this has given you some sense of adventure. And if we meet up on this journey, I would be really excited about that. Okay, signing off now. Much love.